Granite Pack is the power-up that adds the most variety to Ghostly Adventures, though it may not necessarily be my favorite. Granite Pack is a big ball, and that means all of his mechanics are going to be based around momentum, gravity, and slopes. As luck would have it, the place we first find Granite Pack is a pretty good tutorial for his basic mechanics. We can use his dash to briefly overcome uphill inclines, though the same can be accomplished if we have enough momentum. Granite Pack is strange in that while you're playing as him, it kind of feels like you're playing a different game entirely, but Ghostly Adventures still manages to explore his mechanics pretty thoroughly. So while it feels different, it's not like it's just a gimmick they throw away. While you're Granite Pack, every single type of ghost is afraid of you, and none of them are capable of attack. There is one kind of enemy in this game that can attack Granite Pack, but they're not much of a threat either. Granite Pack also comes with a handy brake function, so say if we're descending a slope faster than we'd like, we can control our descent much better with the brake. This entire stage is basically designed to get you slowly used to the way Granite Pack controls and what his game design is going to be about. Like, for instance, these slopes and little half-pipes right here, not really challenging to navigate, but you get how Granite Pack feels differently from regular Pack pretty fast. And just in case you somehow touch some of this slime and lose your Granite Pack form, there are tons more lying all over the place. Granite Pack berries, I mean. One of the most important things to know how to do as Granite Pack is navigate 90-degree turns, because that's the most difficult thing you can do while moving Granite Pack, essentially. And this little area right here just exists to teach us how to do that. And as we move further and further along this area, we get more and more platforms that crumble. So not only do we have to move Granite Pack along pretty sharp turns, we have to do it fast. Thankfully, the game ramps this up kinda slowly, even if it only takes a minute. And that's pretty good game design, introducing the ideas slowly, so the player has time to get used to them. And here are those enemy types I was talking about that can hurt Granite Pack. The golems have 2 attacks. They can create a shockwave or shoot lasers. You're not going to get to see either here because I killed them too fast. The only way to kill them is with a charge or a dash, as you might have known it by now. However, sometimes even when you connect with the dash, it doesn't kill them. This glitch happens infrequently, but it still happens. If we move these balls carefully, we can get them to line up right with the switches without having to go down there and move them again. There's another slope down here, but there's no reason to descend this one slowly. There's nothing to collect on it. This room just has more golems, it may seem, but it does introduce a new mechanic that teaches us how to use Pac-Man's dash a bit better. Sorry, Granite Pack's dash. And you can see the glitch I was referring to right there. Also, it's possible to stop the dash pretty quickly in this game. It stops much less quickly in the sequel. There are some switches that can only be pressed with Granite Pack, but you might not notice them right now because we've never been normal Pack during this stage, really. So just doing a dash up that ramp isn't enough. When there's a slope like this, we want to press jump right at the end of the ramp, and we still want to dash as well. This isn't a 90-degree turn, it's just a gradual curve, and believe it or not, it's easier to move along these curves than it is the 90-degree turns, because Pac-Man naturally moves in a curving fashion. Granite Pack. This is not Pac-Man, this is Granite Pack. These are different things. It's rather appropriate that the first stage with Granite Pack ends in a giant bowl. This is the steepest ramp in the whole stage, and the only way to move upward is with the dash. If we try to move upward without the dash, we will still slowly fall down. Really, it's kind of the ultimate test of whether you've been paying attention to Granite Pack's mechanics, as simple as they are. We don't want to hit these, because if we do, we might not have enough momentum to make this jump. Unlike the last stage, which kind of gave us a hint as to what we would be doing, this one doesn't. It's just a weird pun. Rubber Pac is essentially Pac-Man, but a basketball. You repeatedly press X to dribble him and make him jump higher. Simple enough. And he has a unique attack called the Mega Bounce, where he slams down into the ground and kills any ghosts near him. Now, the Mega Bounce at first may seem kind of awesome, because it instantly kills any ghosts near you. But it takes a long time to use and leaves you pretty vulnerable. The best advice I can give is to wait until after the ghost attack to use it, but even that's not a guarantee, because the ghosts attack at different frequencies. And the green ghosts especially can be difficult, because they will shoot you while you're in the air before you come down. I screw up a lot in this level while trying to use Pac-Man's Mega Bounce attack, and it's always because of the green ghosts. Or almost always. They're pretty much designed specifically to catch you while you're in the air as Rubber Pac. It happens a lot. Thankfully, like I said in the last video, each of our power-ups acts as an extra hit, so we really won't take any damage. These bounce pads are really nothing special. The second game uses them for creative purposes, but I believe this one does not. They're just a way to get from place to place. They can only be activated as Rubber Pac, though. Here's something I thought was kind of cool. We have to press these switches while wall jumping. Of course, we have to line up with the switches first. But little things like that show you the developers cared about exploring their game mechanics and not just including them and then forgetting about them, or reusing them the same way repeatedly. Here's another room that explores wall jumping pretty well. And it's actually a little bit difficult. You have to use these moving platforms to wall jump, but you don't exactly have a lot of time to react before they move. As soon as they start shaking, it's time to wall jump. And since you're relying on platforms that will move out of your way as you try to get to them, you need to already have Pac bouncing. You can also use Pac's regular chomp as Rubber Pac, which I find to be the superior method of attack. If you can make the Mega Bounce work for you, that's great. I just find it a lot more difficult to use. I like the way the temple looks in the background over there. I should have moved the camera toward it more. You can't use the Mega Bounce again while you're in the air from using a bounce pad. If you could, that would make it a lot easier to kill ghosts. Oh man, that was satisfying. We have to wall jump around moving platforms here again. It's just that this time the moving platforms will crush us when they move, as opposed to just making us fall. It's more or less the same principle, though. But you know, they showed us how to wall jump on moving platforms, so now they're increasing the stakes. So we've seen Granite Pack and we've seen Rubber Pack, it only makes sense to put them together now. I would talk about these bigger ghosts, but, well, Granite Pack's invincible to them too. Pretty much all 90-degree turns have crumbling platforms now. The game expects you to be used to that. There's also these turning platforms, which I shouldn't need to tell you why they're difficult. You're a ball. I still don't think any golems have gotten a chance to attack us yet, but this is a good chance to talk about something. You might have noticed we have 4 hearts instead of 3. This is because I did a bit of grinding, as it were, and went back and got extra Slimetanium to increase our hearts. Yeah, I'm really not sure what determines when your dash kills a golem. It doesn't seem to be based on anything particular. So here's something we haven't tackled with Granite Pack yet, moving platforms. You have to constantly adjust yourself while you're on a moving platform, or else you'll just slide right off, like that. You can't use the brake on a moving platform because the brake doesn't stick you to the ground, it just stops you. And if you use a brake on a moving platform, you'll slide off even faster. So the only way to deal with moving platforms is to bite the bullet and constantly adjust yourself as they move. Something you might not figure is that it's actually really easy to jump diagonally with Granite Pack. It's actually incredibly easy to move him in the air. So we want to go up this platform, but I missed it. That does give you a chance to see this ghost commit suicide, though. Real good AI there, buddy. Of course, at some point you would figure they would make you move along a narrow beam as Granite Pack, but this is probably the easiest of the hazards to get around because you just press forward. Don't really need to adjust yourself at all. You can even jump along the beam like I did. Unlike platforms that move side to side, there is no real danger with platforms that simply move up and down. You can kind of just sit still. Right in the center on the circle dot if you like. This beam is even less narrow than the previous one, but it is also required, while the previous one was optional. Usually optional things in games are harder. Not always, but usually. There's some more crumbling platforms over here above a pit of slime, which is pretty deadly, but they're also on a curve. And maneuvering along curves as Granite Pack is really not a big deal. Now these gears, you need to adjust yourself constantly on them, and the amount you need to adjust yourself depends how close you are to the edge. The closer you are to the edge, the greater your chance of falling off. But you kind of want to be near the edge so you can get off the gear. And now we've reached the Rubber Pack portion of the level, which kind of feels like its own level. I mean, I'm not really complaining. It would be kind of difficult to mix Rubber Pack and Granite Pack together frequently without giving you, like, severe design whiplash. So we need to press all the switches around this relatively open area to raise up those platforms so we can wall jump up them. It's simple enough. I really like this area because it's basically a really small but still open playground for the wall jump. I guess if you're playing through this area for the first time, you might have to hunt for the buttons. But I've memorized where they are, so it's not really that difficult. Especially since 3 of them are up here at the top. This area isn't particularly difficult or anything, but it is memorable because of its geography. And the next area is memorable for the same reason. This is a maze. There are mazes you play as Rubber Pack in the sequel, but none of them are as neat as this one. This one is so cool because it really screws with your perception. The entire maze turns, and there is no real up, down, left, or right. The basic goal is to press 2 switches. After you press those 2 switches, the maze gets in the proper position for you to leave, but you still have to find the exit. And right now I'm heading the wrong way entirely. Okay, right, so anyway, after you eventually find your way to the second switch, you'll find that the rightmost path is your exit. You can, if you have the foresight, memorize the entire layout of the maze, but I find that's a lot more difficult than just feeling your way through it. Even though I'm still going out of my way to collect the pellets, we have enough to open the gate up here. But it can't hurt to get extra for the gates in the other worlds. This stage will be using the third most frequent power-up of the world, Chameleon Pack. You already know how Chameleon Pack works and how his stealth comes in handy. Now we can stealth past these golems, but I couldn't do it there because they have an incredibly wide cone of vision. Even though swinging from poles is a pretty ordinary mechanic, this stage does some interesting stuff with it, as you're seeing right here. Or if not interesting, at least fun. It lets me pretend that I'm really good at this video game and I'm some kind of special speedrunner. But yeah, the swinging in this game feels good, especially with the extra mobility of getting an extra jump after you leave the pole. It's just not used for anything particularly fantastic. If you do want to use stealth to hide from a golem, you have to turn on your stealth way before you actually get to the golem.
Take him down.
I know that noise. That noise, I've heard that in Billy Hatcher. Holy crap. I'm having weird brain problems right now because of that noise. I like that even in this area where they weren't required to do anything special, there's still these crumbling platforms that lead to an arcade token. Like I said, this game has all kinds of optional stuff, even if there are no real collectibles. And the optional stuff is usually fun to do anyway. When you use your tongue, it cancels out the stealth, so stealth attacks aren't really a thing. This area can be pretty difficult because you presumably have Chameleon Pack, and unlike regular Pack who goes along with the ghost when he bites, Chameleon Pack stands still, and there's a lot of these tilting platforms. And if you stand still on one too long, you fall right through and die. So this entire area is actually designed to use Chameleon Pack's ability against you, which I think is pretty neat.
I made it to the Temple of Slime!
Good work, my boy! There's bound to be another one of those ancient tablets inside. See if you can find it.
Don't worry, Circe. I'm on it!
In Ghostly Adventures 2, not only do bosses get their own stages, but the boss stages are always at the very end of the world.
Yeah!
That is not the case with this one. Not only do bosses not get their own stages, but they are oftentimes nowhere near the actual end of the world. And sometimes worlds have multiple bosses in a row. I think that's fine though, because the bosses are actually pretty good. In case you couldn't tell, we'll be fighting this boss as Granite Pac, when we do get to it. We lose our power-up when we hit one of these towers, which leaves us very temporarily vulnerable. There's usually another Granite Pac power-up right where we land, though. In the sequel, you didn't lose your power-up when you hit one of these towers. You just kept going. Oh, I just recalled something I forgot to mention. In the sequel, Granite Pac has a slam attack similar to the one Rubber Pac has. He does not have that attack in this game because you really don't do a lot of fighting as Granite Pac. For some reason a glitch occurred and the ghosts were still scared even though I wasn't Granite Pac right then. It's really easy to miss this pole, even if your cursor is right on it. That's why I recommend aiming for the very top. Right here is one of the switches that can only be activated with Granite Pac. Oop. You can tell because it has a little divot in it, where the regular switches do not. We could just head straight to the boss from up here, but there's more Slimetanium over there, and some pretty interesting design. Now, moving platforms are already pretty difficult, but these ones are more so, because they start and stop so suddenly. Can really screw with your sudden adjustments. Send you flying right off the edge and into the slime below. You can platform right across all of these gaps, but that requires excellent timing that I do not have. And here's a giant gauntlet of crumbling platforms, but they are in a curve. So as long as you don't freak out, you'll be fine. Really, you can even go as fast as you want to.
What now?
This boss is fun and well designed, but it can also be pretty tough. The idea is to hit these boulders into his teeth. The easiest one to hit is the middle, because it's in the middle. Now you can hit these hold on. The easiest way to avoid the shockwaves is to stay right in front of him, so you can jump over both at the same time. You have a lot of time to jump as well, but anyway, as I was saying, you can hit the boulders at him without using your dash, but that makes it much harder to aim them. And after you hit him one time, he starts dropping flaming boulders. And the longer you take to hit one of his teeth, the more flaming boulders he drops. After the second time you hit him, the pattern doesn't change any, so I'm just going to skip to when we hit him the third time.
You were right, Circe. I found another tablet.
Well, I better get cracking on translating that.
Whoa! How'd you do that?
I don't know. First time I tried it. No time to worry about that, though. Spiral and Silly are still out there somewhere. You best get a move on and find them.
Will do!
As opposed to other levels where the gimmicks were based around power-ups, this one's based around something in the environment. The entire gimmick for this level is platforms that are activated by switches. And I'm not gonna lie, this is definitely not the most interesting level in the world. But it does set up a theme where quite a few of the worlds end with maze-like sections. There was the garden maze in the original world, and the next world will have a maze for us as well at the very end. For some reason I decided to fight all these ghosts instead of just sneak past them. It's not like it's a big deal though. If we were doing these sections as Granite Pack, that might be intensely difficult and interesting, but I feel like they didn't want to make that game that hard. We cycle through all of the main 3 power-ups of this world, Chameleon Pack, Rubber Pack, and Granite Pack, in order from least used to most used. And nothing interesting is done with Chameleon Pack, but this is at least a little interesting. Coming down here, you have to worry about over-bouncing and jumping right off a cliff, and going back up, you have to worry that you're not bouncing high enough. Really, if you dribble before you take on the platforms, you'll be fine, though. But trying to regular jump could lead to some disastrous results. Here's another switch that we can't activate without Granite Pack. Presumably because if we did, we could reach the other side with Rubber Pack, just by standing on the very edge of the slope. I wonder if I could dash and reach the other side from here without using the slope. I guess we'll never find out. Now, for some reason, I failed to see the switch that was right in front of me, and tried to ride the platform before I pressed it. But there it is. So we have to platform uphill as Granite Pack as well, without the use of any slopes, which is actually kind of difficult, because he's heavy. To pull it off, you just need to get some decent momentum going, generally. Also, these moving platforms are no threat to Granite Pack simply because they're so long. Granite Pack gets a little bit of extra height if you hit the very edge of a platform, which can be pretty useful. We could chase down all the ghosts in here with Granite Pack, but that might take a while, because they're cowards. So let's just get our murder orb. That's more like it.